Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another epic episode of BrickCityBlockade.com's Talkin' Far, Far Away. And on this special episode, I am so excited. And thank you to Christopher James Letty, Vintage Viewport, for getting her on the show. It's Kelly, aka Team Ahsoka. Thank you so much for coming on Talkin' Far, Far Away. And how's everything going?
It's going great. Thanks, Robin. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, it's always great to have different kind of people on, especially when it's Ahsoka centric, because here at the network we are such big Ahsoka fans. And let's get to know you personally. I'd love to get to know the Star Wars fans individually. So, what was it specifically that got you into Star Wars? Because we all have our own little story, it seems like.
Wow. I can't even remember any specifics, to be honest. It's been quite a while ago. Um, Very earliest memories, I guess, would have to be watching A New Hope, either on TV or VHS, because this was the 80s.
Right.
Um, my mom got me into it, to be honest, because she was a fan before I was. She kind of reminds me every so often. It's like, oh,
That's
I was a Star Wars fan before you were born. I'm like, okay. I was born in the year of The Empire Strikes Back. I couldn't exactly rush to the cinema to see that one.
right. Wow, that's so awesome. Yeah, and that's always a good film to kind of start off with. Everybody has their own way of watching Star Wars for the first time. Yours was sounds like it was through VHS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the good
That's
old
the
days.
that's the best way to see Star Wars, I feel. That's the way that I saw Star Wars too, was on VHS. Then of course, right around Revenge of the Sith was the time that I really got back into it. And it's amazing to think of that as a prequel. You got back into Star Wars in a prequel, but other than that, no, that's great. I mean, A New Hope, we've been talking about it here on the network specifically. Not many people mention A New Hope as the one that got them into Star Wars. A lot of people say Empire or Return of the Jedi. So that's really cool that
Wow.
you see A New Hope. Is there anything specific about The New Hope that you really liked?
Well, somebody asked me on Twitter yesterday. They were saying, "What was your earliest memory of Star Wars?" And for me, it was basically Vader walking onto the Tantive or the Tantive. I'm not really sure what the preferred
Mhm.
pronunciation of that one is. I'm sticking with Tantive. I don't care if it's wrong. It's always been like that. Once I heard it was Tantive, I'm like, no, no, that's never going to work.
Right. No, that
That
is,
was basically my first memory of Star Wars, I guess.
yeah.
I'd have to say that, before Ahsoka came along, Vader was actually my top Star Wars character. He's sort of like kind of there at number two right now. I mean, it's sort of maybe tied with Ahsoka. Because, I mean, come on, it's Vader. You can't put him too far down either.
No, that's true. Vader is kind of in his own category. And then, of course, you have Ahsoka at the same time, which leads me into the next question here. If you were to be a specific character, which one do you identify most with? Because they kind of walk in hand. Is somebody who really carries your personality throughout the Star Wars universe.
Oh, yeah. Probably not the best one. Obviously, I would like to be, someone like Ahsoka or even Rey or
Hmm.
any of the good guys, so to speak. But I think personality-wise, I'm gonna have to go with Anakin, to be honest. Especially when I'm in a bad mood. Sort of veering towards Kylo Ren. We all have those moments, I think, especially when I see things on Twitter that I don't particularly want to see.
That's a really good point, and I totally agree with you on that one. There, it's one of those things. It's like, especially when it comes to Twitter, you and I both know we're across Twitter. Team Ahsoka's on Twitter, of course. You see these different things, and you just kind of shake your head, and you almost want to do what Kylo Ren did in The Force Awakens, and just start whipping out the lightsaber and just start tearing apart units within a
That
Star.
would be like 90% of my day, I think. I'd spend the other 10% of the day fixing everything I'd wrecked.
Right.
Um, Obviously, I guess a lot of people tend to maybe veer towards the good characters, but to be honest, yeah, personality-wise, I go with Anakin from maybe Clone Wars era. Haven't quite got to the young slaughter stage just yet.
Right. That's a really good character to base it off of. The Anakin in Clone Wars was very, I don't know, just the development that he had in Clone Wars alone compared to the films. I really prefer the Clone Wars development because you got to see his association and his relationship with Ahsoka as her master and everything, which was so crucial, I feel, to the Star Wars timeline.
And I think as well, his relationship with Obi-Wan, it
Mhm.
never was fully fleshed out. You go from Attack the Clones to sort of bickering all the time, and Nobody's always, putting Anakin in his place, saying, patience, Padawan, blah, blah, blah. By the time we get to Revenge of the Sith, the first 15, 20 minutes, brilliant. You can see that, a good camaraderie between the two, and you can believe that, they were good friends. But there's nothing until, Clone Wars came, either the two series, either the non-canon or the canon version. You didn't really get that sense that they were really close friends. You think, hang on, in Attack of the Clones, they were arguing with each other the whole time. They had their moments, but you didn't really get that sort of friendship element there, I don't think.
No, and that's so important to this universe. And I guess at times we saw it in the Obi-Wan and Anakin comic book, but at the same time, there's nothing like the animated series. There's nothing like what Dave Filoni did with the Clone Wars with George Lucas at the same time. One of the things also that I would love to talk with you about is that, I've always been fascinated. There's such an Ahsoka following, and I mentioned it at the top here of the show. There's such an Ahsoka following in Star Wars, and it's so nice to see. We just had Jedi Amanda on the last episode, a great Ahsoka cosplayer, and there's just such a community of Ahsoka fans. What was it specifically that you really liked about Ahsoka that you said, yeah, I really want to start Team Ahsoka because I need to get this message out to Ahsoka fans? Or is there something else behind it? Because I've always been fascinated.
Well, with me, I've been a fan for most of the time she's been around. Initially, it took a while for me to warm up to, I'll be honest. When I went to see the film, I thought, I didn't find it particularly annoying like some people did, but I thought, she's either going to die at the end of this film. The film ended, she didn't die. I thought, she probably isn't going to make the end of season 1. I'm not really sure I want to invest too much in this character. Mm-hmm. Obviously, by season 2, I thought, she's, really growing on me. And I think a lot of the sort of backlash towards her also died down by the second, maybe third season of Clone Wars, and that's when she really, hooked everyone, I think. If you ask a lot of people, so many people would say, oh yeah, in the film in the first season, we found her really bratty, a bit too brash, sort of, talking down to her masters. I thought, but yeah, a lot of people warmed up to after that, and I honestly didn't think she would be this popular at this point in time. I don't think, and I'm pretty sure Filoni probably thought, yeah, the fans are going to love this, give it a chance, but
right.
It took a while to get there, I think.
Yeah, and I think that I've noticed that with your Twitter page and everything you do at teamahoka.com, there just seems to be such a focus on, yes, this is a character that not only took some time for us all to get acclimated to, but with time, we respected her more and more. And it's so great. We've seen the connection with Anakin. We've now in Star Wars Rebels, we see her connection. Of course, Dave Filoni came out with that little tidbit about her and Kanan Jarrus and some of the background of between.
Oh, I remember when he dropped that night, and everyone like Twitter just exploded.
Yeah, what were your?
Why do you do this?
Exactly.
I think he just likes being cruel to us, to be honest. It's like, oh, it's Friday, everyone's, gearing up for the weekend, everyone's relaxed. Let me just drop this potentially emotional bombshell and see what happens. I'm pretty sure he plans this out. I wouldn't be surprised if he just sits behind his computer, just, cackling away maniacally. The reaction. I've just got this weird image of Filoni in my head. He seems like a nice guy, but I'm pretty sure he also likes to toy with our emotions.
I guess you could, at that point, say that Filoni, in a way, is like the Emperor, and then Hidalgo then is like Darth Vader in that sense. Like those two are like the powerhouse.
That's basically what I have in my mind. Yeah, just imagine sort of Filoni sat there with the hood over his cowboy hat, just just playing around, and yeah.
Oh, that is such.
It's a funny image. I mean, me and my husband call him Darth Filonius for a reason.
Ooh, I like that name.
I've seen other people use it, so I'm pretty sure somebody's going to say, oh, no, she stole it from us. But I think we've all come to the same decision that this man is both good and evil. He's like Anakin.
Yeah, in many ways he is. And I think you're absolutely right. I think when it comes to Ahsoka, and of course when it comes to Filoni, I mean, it's so great that there's been this chemistry that's evolved. Of course, Ashley Eckstein herself has been able to carry this character for so long, and she is basically the face of Ahsoka in many ways with everything with her universe, and of course that great Lego dress she did.
Oh, that Lego dress is
Uh,
beautiful.
and it's just great to see this progression of Ahsoka fans. Now, specifically when it comes to your fandom, is there one place that you really like? I know that we've recently started to see Ahsoka used in things like Forces of Destiny. What's your opinion on Forces of Destiny so far, and maybe that Ahsoka episode that we saw? Do you like what they're doing with her there?
I really enjoyed the series.
Mm,
I really can't. Well, I can sort of understand the backlash, but I don't see why people are getting so upset over what is essentially 2 or 3 minute long animated shorts. They're acting like it's the end of the world, like Disney has come and erase
mm.
years of glorious Star Wars history and brought us this. I really like what they're doing. I really wish I'd had this when I was a girl, to be honest. I was joking around. I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to go back in time and have this to look up to? We had Leia in my era. Leia's fine, but that was literally it. When I was small, it was just Leia and the redhead lady, because as far as I know, Mon Mothma wasn't even named on screen in
Hmm.
Return of the Jedi. This one of those things that you had to collect the action figures or whatever. We didn't have internet back then. So she was just like this mysterious redhead woman that disappeared, talked about Bothan's dying, and then that was it, as far as we knew. She
No, that
seemed
and
she seems important, but as a kid, I was thinking, who is she, and why haven't we seen her before, and where is she going?
yeah, we didn't have much knowledge about specifically Mon Mothma at that time. And it's so great that now that we've seen her in Rogue One, it's kind of like, yeah, we're starting to get a little bit more about Mon Mothma at the same time. And these female characters, of course, Jyn Erso, Ahsoka Tano, Mon Mothma, Princess Leia. And speaking of Princess Leia, I think that we have to get into a little Last Jedi talk here because in recent news, and it's been all over the internet about how they're bringing on somebody else to take a look at the writing for The Last Jedi. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this because here at the network, we feel that maybe Princess Leia might be involved in these rewrites or just this script editing, but it's hard to say with Star Wars. We never get the full story until we see the film.
I think what I've noticed over the last few months of running the Twitter account, especially, is any nugget of news gets either overanalyzed or gets everyone in panic. I've noticed this, especially with the Han Solo film recently. The
Mm.
minute there's any news about a new director, a new writer, or reshoots with Rogue One, that was also a major issue. I think we tend to panic, but we don't really wait until we see what the final product is. Up to now, I mean, we had the reshoots for Rogue One, and we ended up with, I thought, a fantastic film. I honestly, there's a few things that could have been changed. Maybe, female representation. Thought they dropped the ball there a little bit. But, the final product was really good, I think. Obviously, people are going to have various opinions on it. But I think with regards to The Last Jedi as well, we are sort of maybe panicking a little. Well, not so much with Last Jedi. Last Jedi seems there hasn't been that much controversy about Last Jedi, has there really? Has there been any news of reshoots or anything lately?
No,
As far as I know, Ryan Johnson has got it pretty well done.
yeah, he's got a pretty firm hand in what's going
Yeah.
on with The Last Jedi so far. I think you bring up a wonderful point, and it's so nice to hear this, is that some Star Wars fans, I'm not going to say all of them, but some Star Wars fans and some news outlets are quick to run on the clickbait type stuff to say, yeah, this is controversy. Same with the Han Solo film. This is all controversy and everything.
Oh, this is going to be the worst film ever. Everything's falling apart, and then Ron Howard's come in, and as far as I can see, it's been a smooth transition. I honestly don't know the full details about what happens since I wasn't there. I'm relying on clickbait and slightly more reliable news sources, but who knows what the full truth is? They're never going to tell us because we're not supposed to be privy to that information. But I think, yeah, fans just have the habit of panicking. I've noticed. I thought, calm down. You had this with Rogue One, it turned out fine. Last Jedi will turn out fine. Han Solo will turn out fine. don't panic. I have a lot of faith in Kathleen Kennedy and the team. She's got the best people, presumably. I like to think she knows, what the franchise needs, and she's not going to drop the ball. I think.
No.
I hope. Come back to me when the Han Solo film bombs. I thought, well.
No, you bring up a great point, and it's so important that our listeners hear this, is that in Star Wars We Trust is the message that we all convey, not only as a Twitter community. Of course, Team Ahsoka and BrickCityBlockade.com are great friends across Twitter, and we love to share things back and forth because it's such a positive community, and we try to spread that message that, you know what, because things are happening, we don't have to know everything. As long as we're in the seats in December or May or whenever they put out these films and we like the film, we're just going to keep talking about it, because that is the most important piece of this galaxy far, far away, I feel.
Exactly, and once the film's out, we'll be overanalyzing every little detail from the films. Did you see that Easter egg? Did you catch this? Oh my god, what could that line be? Who was Rey's parents? That is basically this. I've noticed it's a cycle with these films. We get hyped up. We see news that we think, oh, this is going to derail the film, either a new director or a new writer being brought in or reshoots being scheduled. This is all part and parcel of the film industry, presumably. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Star Wars is probably the most analyzed film franchise.
Mm.
I haven't really. I've noticed it a little bit with the Marvel films, mostly with the DC films. I notice they get a lot of bad rep, especially with clickbait sites. Personally, I prefer the Marvel films. The DC films are okay, but I've noticed that the media tends to pick certain stories and they'll say, "Oh, these reshoots mean this film is going to go terrible," without mentioning the reshoots that are going on with the rival franchise. And you think, why is it any different? I think with Star Wars, they're just desperate. Maybe they know that we're hanging on their every word and they'll put out any story and they know that people are going to click it. Now and again, I sort of, if I find a clickbait story, I'll sort of take, I'll read it and then I'll just put my comments in there, quote RT it and say, yeah, no, this is nothing. Don't worry about this. This tells us literally nothing new.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta let the people know that sometimes when it comes to their Star Wars news, it's like, don't necessarily click on these things because you're not going to get any more out of it. You should be, and that's the thing that we try to promote here as Star Wars fans, as podcasting community, as a news community when it comes to Star Wars, is that not every article is suited for the Star Wars fan. Of course, when it comes to clickbaity stuff, sometimes you find something good in it, but at the other time, there's a lot of useless information in there that gets you to the main part. And
exactly, I think about 90% of it is, either regurgitated or just written. I'm pretty sure someone sat there thinking, "Oh, look, I've seen this thing on Twitter. Let me just write a 1,000-word essay on this." And you think it's literally just one photo from the set. How can you overanalyze this? But they know that people are gonna click, and I don't know about you, but I'm always eager to know what's going on. So I'm kind of guilty sometimes of clicking those clickbait articles. Mostly because I just want to see, no, we already knew this. Or I think there was one recent incident with Warwick with the Han Solo film. It had been announced months ago. He was on the Force for Change video behind the scenes. We knew he was involved, but obviously the minute Ron Howard said, "Oh, happy to be working with Warwick again for the first time in 30 years," the media just jumped at it. It's like, "Oh, Warwick Davis is in the Han Solo film," and I'm thinking, yeah, we knew this. But whatever gets your clicks for the day, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like that's previous information. We've known that for quite some time. And Warwick Davis has always found his own little role in these future Star Wars films. So, like you said, it was
I
kind
think
of.
we can assume that it'll be involved in everything Star Wars from now until he retires or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think we can have a Star Wars project without him in some form. I mean, we're even getting him in Star Wars Rebels in season 4. So
Yeah.
I was there when he sort of begged Filoni for the position. That was a good time in the Star Wars Celebration Europe panel.
Yeah, our good friend Scott Inch was also there at Star Wars Celebration Europe. That must have been quite a panel to see, I'm sure. And we're hoping at some point in the near future, of course, Team Ahsoka and Brick City Blockade meet up at Star Wars Celebration, and it will be just a gathering of the nerdy Star Wars minds, because that's the whole purpose, is to connect the minds, keep the positive attitude, and to keep the Star Wars love flowing. That's what we love to do.
Exactly. There's enough negativity. Obviously, real world politics and everything, it brings everyone down, let's be honest. So it's great whenever you can find any kind of positive community and just latch onto it, because it keeps you sane, to be honest.
Mm.
I've noticed it's a form of escapism, I think. But also, even though it's escapism, you still need to try and avoid what seems to be the daily fandom drama. There's always something going on.
Mm-hmm.
It can get quite, it can weigh you down after that, I think.
Yeah, it does exist, and it's so important that we keep the conversation going and that we keep discussing Star Wars, because we find our little niches within the universe and we find ways to communicate that message like Team Ahsoka does. Make sure to check out teamasoka.com. Now, of course, I'm curious to hear, this is a little thing on the podcast show that we like to call Plug Time. And this is where you can share wherever the good people of the Star Wars universe can find you across social media.
Well, across social media, obviously I've picked a very easy name, Team Ahsoka. All one word. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram, although I don't use the latter that often. And of course, there's the website, teamasoka.com. Come look for me on Twitter, because I tend to be a bit more eloquent, I think, in my tweets. I tend to ramble a lot when I'm talking, as you can see. I think that's all the social networks I'm on. I do have a
Perfect.
Tumblr, I think, but I can't remember if that's. I don't use that often. Your best bet is to find me on Twitter, to be honest. I think that's the one I'm most active on. Contrary to popular belief, I do sleep now and again, even though it doesn't seem like it sometimes. Especially when Filoni drops those bombshells, because I was always like, 2 or 3 o'clock my time, and on a Friday, be up. Oh, I'm gonna go off to bed. Let me just drop this bomb. Yeah, I'm not gonna sleep. Everyone is tweeting at me, especially if it's Ahsoka related. Oh my god, did you see this? I'm like, yes, yes, I'm really sleepy, but I saw it. I'm just gonna go to bed now.
So while Filoni sleeps, the Star Wars fans in Team Ahsoka stay up to analyze and to break it down.
We
Very,
hang on his every word. Let's
yeah,
be honest.
that's it. That's it. We just stick to it and we run with it. That's how it is. Awesome. You guys can follow me over on Twitter at Mr. Vote Tweets. Make sure to head on over to Instagram. Follow me at the official vote. Also, make sure to head on over to www.brickcityblockade.com for this episode and a lot more when it comes to Ahsoka Tano. We'll be featuring some of the Team Ahsoka stuff on there as well, including this episode. And also make sure to head on over to iTunes and subscribe. Please rate and comment on the show. Your ratings and your comments boost our content and bring more people onto the network, like Team Ahsoka and other special guests. We love hearing from you guys, so make sure to subscribe on iTunes. And as we always say here on the podcast network, thank you, Team Ahsoka, for joining us. It was so much fun having you on.
You're very welcome, and thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. And as we always say, may the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
Always.